You're listening to Happy Hour Hustle, a bi-weekly podcast featuring the musings and witty remarks of the one and only Kim Bodie. We can promise at least 2 terrible jokes out of Kim and at least 10 minutes of incredible thought leadership from some amazing and influential guests. So grab a glass of iced red wine and join us for a wild ride. Here's Kim.
It's another edition of the Happy Hour Hustle in social isolation, which we're getting real sick of. Am I right or am I right?
You are right.
Oh, yeah. Look at that enthusiasm. We're all wanting to take naps right now. So I've got our kick-ass digital team on today, and we're going to talk about digital innovations. We're going to talk about Zoom and how Zoom fatigue is real. And then we're going to talk about other types of digital media, all things digital.
Woo.
Yeah, look at that excitement. This is going to be probably one of our highest energy podcasts
We should
right
have
here.
gotten drinks for it or
Absolutely.
something.
Right now. Yeah,
Wow.
there's still time for you to take a shot. I got a lot of vodka for my birthday, so
It's a good present.
yeah, I mean, why not? Why not encourage the alcoholism? All right. So I'm gonna have each one of you introduce yourselves, even though everybody knows who you are, so do it quickly. Rick, go first. Who are you? What do you do?
I am Erica. I do all things digital for the digital team at 8:34. What is that intro?
I don't know. Best intro ever. It's not getting changed at all. I already know what picture we're going to use for this podcast. It's the one I took earlier.
Apparently, sometimes
Yes.
I like to act like I'm in a movie.
Yeah.
You have
Not
to see the
act.
picture
You
now.
have these faces that just get stuck. And so I like to take photos and then zoom in inch by inch by inch and then share with the world because I mean,
Yes.
that's what a good boss does. All right, Ro, tell us who you are.
I'm Ro, and I also do a lot of digital stuff for the digital team. I'm our content lead.
Yes, you are.
Because I
But
always say
also
creative
so much
lead.
more.
Yeah,
Well,
I do
I mean,
stuff
I
for
guess you
sites
could
and
be
stuff.
creative lead. Chelsea's not here. She
I don't know why I always say creative
Yeah.
lead, and Chelsea's always like, hello. But no, I do digital
Sorry,
stuff.
I have to text the husband. He's trying to buy Miracle Whip versus mayo. That's a good question. Miracle Whip
They're
or mayo?
gross. Both are
I'm-
disgusting.
No
Either
difference
one
to
of
me.
you?
No difference.
I love mayonnaise.
I
I
didn't
mean,
even
like,
know
I'm
they
not
were
going to
different.
eat it in spoonfuls. That's disgusting.
Ugh.
But Miracle Whip? Ew.
That is a really controversial
I think it is.
topic,
I think
actually.
this
I've
is
had
a
a lot of
poll I
friends
need to
say
take
it
on our
is.
Facebook page.
Straight up growing up, I thought Miracle Whip was like the on-brand and mayonnaise was like the off-brand name for it. Like I didn't even know they were different.
I thought mayonnaise was like a broad category of food
Yeah.
growing up. Anyway.
Well, I mean, kind of. My mom used to make this Miracle Whip cake, which actually, by the way, was really good. But that's the only thing I would ever eat Miracle Whip with or in. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so as our icebreaker, we're going to talk about the worst meal you've had in isolation. Erica, you've been ordering the majority of yours. What has your worst meal been?
Actually, okay. Oh no, I'm cracking under the pressure. I don't know. I've made some pretty terrible meals, if I'm being honest. I've gotten better at cooking throughout isolation. I'll be honest about that. But okay, here's one. My mom thought she was being really nice, and she sent me some pork,
Mhm.
No.
which is great, and like
can really
everyone would
screw
like
that
that.
up.
Yeah, that's
Did you give
the
yourself
thing, is,
food
like,
poisoning?
No, actually I didn't, but I tried to use my Instant Pot because that's just like the easiest way to do it, and it just tasted awful. I have no idea what I'm doing is the bottom line, and it was
Did
terrible.
you Google, as a digital person, did you Google pork recipes
I
in my
did,
Instapot?
but like there's like the thing you're supposed to make that makes it taste good, like the saw. I don't know,
Spices?
spices maybe. I don't know.
It
Isn't
other
it like
ingredients?
a pork rind or something?
What did you just put? Like, what did you just
pork
put, like,
rub.
water in it and throw the pork in it, or like I'll just put it on whatever?
It's like here's
Did you
some
mean like a
salt,
pork
pepper.
rub?
Yeah, that's what the rub. Yeah.
Oh
the
my
rub.
gosh.
And
You can make that
just-
out of seasening, and I'm gonna guess you don't even have any seasoning.
You make that out of
I-
coffee.
I'm
Like
slowly building
Yeah.
my seasoning cabinet. I don't know if that's a thing, but
It also makes me
That's
nervous
fine.
that you have a pressure cooker, but we'll move on from that. All right, Ro. What's the worst meal you've had in social isolation?
so I'm generally pretty good at cooking, but I'm really easily distracted. And I was making lunch not too long ago and like got some sort of chat. I don't even remember what had happened, something with a website. So I walked away from it. So I had like crispy eggs that were very, very
gross.
tasty. Like this thin
gross.
layer of just crispy eggs. It was great.
Oh, was it like, how are you cooking it? Was it scrambled? Was it over easy?
I was trying to make like an omelet thing, but I wound up just like walking away before I had been able to like flip it. So it was just straight up scrambled eggs that like got crispy and cooked all the way through. And eggs are so expensive right now that I was like, I have to eat this.
Did you eat it?
I did.
Oh, God, that's terrible.
It's terrible.
That's awful. The best thing I ever purchased for myself was this little egg thing. Remember I showed it to you. I can't remember what the name was. It was literally like $14. And what you do is you get, I think it can make like 6 eggs at a time. And you punch a hole in the bottom. And then like you have a little thing, you put water on the bottom and it basically just steams them. And it takes like 5 minutes. And I eat so much egg salad now.
Like hard-boiled eggs?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You can also make poached eggs in there, but I haven't figured that one out. I don't care about that. So
Cool.
I don't have a weird thing I've eaten. I got Thai last night and I thought of you.
Oh,
I thought it was delicious.
Good.
And I always have to order like 3 dishes because I was like, what if I don't like one? Like, I've got to have choices.
That's true. I never venture out of my comfort zone with Thai.
No. Well, what do you always get then?
I always get what do I get? Oh, pad Thai.
Oh, yeah. Well,
with chicken. Yeah.
I like the drunken noodle.
And no bean sprouts because you're boring.
Oh, bean sprouts is gross though.
What? No, I
bean
love
sprouts are like the #1 cause of food poisoning, so I just try to divert.
Yeah, but they're super good.
Wait, whoa, back up. What?
They're like, it's super, super common for people to get food poisoning from bean sprouts.
Why?
I don't really know why.
It's
because the way they're grown and like the way that you have to like fertilize them, I'm pretty sure. But like if you ordered from like when Jimmy John's had sprouts, you'd have to click something that was like a little disclaimer that was like, I'm aware this could give me food poisoning. But I've had them my whole life. I've never had a problem with it.
Most people have.
They're not even worth the food poison risk.
They're so good though. Also, if they're in pad Thai,
what
they're
flavor
like
would you say they have if you think they're so good?
What flavor would I say? It's same thing with like water chestnuts. Like they're just the crunch.
It's the texture of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a texture. There's no flavor. It's just a texture.
They're so good. I would eat them raw.
Ugh.
I mean, obviously raw, but I mean like by themselves.
I was gonna say, does insurance cover that?
It's
fine, whatever. All right.
I've done that.
Okay, so another icebreaker, and this one's just funny because we've been home and I've probably taken like a gazillion dog videos. One funny story about your pet. Rick, you just got a cat.
Mm-hmm.
We have already told the story about how the cat came to be, which was you opened the door because you heard it crying and then it ran in and never left.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have a good one. This involves Ro, actually. Which is
yeah. This is gonna be my story.
Is this trying to put the cat in the carrier?
Yes. Yeah. All of quarantine, I was trying to get, her name is Lady, I was trying to get her scanned for a chip so I could figure out whether or not I should get attached to her. And every vet told me that it's not classified as an emergency since I was like totally okay with watching her and fostering her. Yeah. And I moved soon, so I called the animal shelter and I was like, I really need to know if like she needs to be sent home or not. And so they were like, all right, fine, like bring her down, whatever. And so I got her a cage or like a carrier from Meijer for $10. I get home and I'm trying to put her in this carrier and she just instantly like pops out of it and breaks it. And for like 10 minutes, I'm trying to get her in it and she just keeps
Maybe it's because it was $10.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. So Ro is like the cat whisperer. So I'm chatting Ro and I'm like, please help me. So Ro and Lane like FaceTime me and they're like, this is what you have to do. You have to wrap her up in a blanket like a burrito and shove her in the cage. And she's in the cage going insane. Like I finally got her in. It was a disaster. And Lane
you always have to put a cat in a cage?
No, like, so, okay, what you're supposed to do, if you have time and you have forethought, is you buy the cage beforehand and then you like leave it on the ground and you give it good associations. So you put like their toys in there, or you give them a treat in there, you teach them that like going into the cage is a good thing. If you don't have time, like Rick, who bought it 5 minutes before your appointment, you cat burrito them and shove them in it and then apologize to them later.
Yeah.
Just happens like that.
Couldn't you just put a collar on them and walk them in?
That totally works. Yeah.
She goes insane though when I open the door. So that was a whole other thing. Like I can't just like walk her in my car.
Oh.
I mean, you can leash train a cat, but normally it's with a harness. And you have to train them.
Oh, yeah, harness. We should try that. Hey, I wonder if I have any dogs at my house. Can't hear them. One of them's crawling on me. Okay, so my story is hilarious, and it really does. There's a video that accompanies it. So I hear Josh laughing like he's just losing it. And I'm like, what is happening? And he's like, Sarge, just stuck in a blanket. It's hilarious. So I come downstairs, and apparently we had just put like the flea treatment on his back. So he's all pissed off about that. So he's like rolling around, like trying to, like on this blanket, trying to wipe it all off. Well, there's a hole that was in it because Joey is a jerk and ruins everything. And so while he was rolling around, his head got stuck in that hole, and then he flipped over, and then all that was sticking out was his ass end. And then he was just like trying to get out and run, like it was covering him completely. By the time I got to him, he was panicking. Josh was still videotaping him. And I literally had to rip it open. And when he popped out, he had these crazy eyes and his hair was standing straight up. And he was like, what the hell just happened? He's severely traumatized, but at least we got it on video. I think this is what people do with their kids too.
I mean, not the
first, deal with it later. Yeah, why not? I mean, the videotaping kind of really fits into the digital innovations we're going to talk about.
Good segue.
Yeah, thank you. That was probably the worst segue I've ever had. So as I had introduced, we're talking about digital innovations during COVID-19. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I talk to more people now than I ever did before. And I went to all the networking things. And I don't know if it's because, and I want to ask each one of you this. I don't know if it's because the conversations are much more focused, because you have a purpose for having each conversation that you have like scheduled, and I'm talking Zoom, and or if it's just because there's not as many people. I don't know. I mean, what would your thoughts be on that when we talk about, because I really do feel like I'm communicating better now than I was before. I talk to you guys more than I did when I was in the office.
I think it is because like you have like that set time every day of like, okay, we are meeting together to talk about this thing, and then when people get off topic, it's like, okay, we're off topic now. Like we have another meeting coming up in 15 minutes, talk about this thing. I don't know. That's my thought on it, but it is kind of wild to see just how many like social engagements and meetings and stuff get scheduled when we're all working remote.
I had just today, I had 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my 5th one today. 5th one. Not that I mind seeing you guys, but what in the heck? And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 tomorrow.
That's insane.
That's insane.
I also have 6 tomorrow. Yeah.
I need a nap. But I do think, and it's okay, now when we're talking about that, let's talk a little bit about Zoom fatigue, because there was a Wall Street Journal article on it, and it said like Zoom fatigue is real. So I had sent it to you guys, and I'd also posted it on our social. And one of the things that says in there is, it says colleagues who were previously kind of kept at arm's length, and we're a smaller team, so we don't necessarily have this experience, now invite themselves into living rooms for after work drinks on Zoom, or you're doing online quizzes or whatever it is. So like, I think and then you talk about museums adapting to virtual tours, and you talk about schools doing online courses. I mean, your spouse Lane is doing that with, I mean, how many people was on their Zoom call the other day?
They teach the entire grade at once, so 90 people.
That's crazy.
That silence was a moment of silence for Lane. Let's all take Lane. We're with you. Wow, that's just horrible. I literally went into shock real quick for a second. So how can you? So okay, let's talk a little bit about that then. How do you feel like you can be effective in this type of like atmosphere or digital world that we're almost forced to live in?
I think it's really important. It's really difficult, but really important to figure out when you work best and then how to draw those boundaries.
Yep.
So for example, I think it was like a few weeks ago, our team, Kim, came to us and was like, you guys can like kind of, as long as you're here for the meetings you need to be in, you can work whenever you need to work. And I think that's really important because it's really hard to feel like you can get away from it. When, we're constantly getting chats, you're constantly getting emails. It's not like in the office when you have 5 minutes to get up and get away from the screen. We're on our screens for 8 straight hours a day, usually more than that. So I think
my computer started rebelling.
Mine too.
I think it's like overuse, man. Like, just shut me off. Like, what is happening? Because now it's not like, it's like all these video chats and like, so you're doing so much video, talking on video, and then you've got your chats going, and you've got email, and you've got social media, and you've got like everything. It's insane.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been having issues with like Wi-Fi too, going in and out, and it's crazy how much we depend on that.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about that, because I just started a book, which this isn't really like, it's called Atomic Habits. And it's about building good habits and breaking bad habits. And one of the chapters in here specifically talks about our addiction to digital, and talking about how we have to set boundaries with digital, whether that's like you put your phone down at 9:00 at night and you don't touch it until the next morning, and it's not in your room, it's not used as an alarm clock. And then you read a chapter in a book, or you do something like that. What I think is funny is when you have like the way you read is on a digital device, which I've never done that, because, well, that's not true. I do read a lot of books on my phone. So now I just contradicted myself, but it's fine. But I do think it's, there's so many like research that goes into, if you're on your device right before you go to sleep, that you don't sleep as well, and all of those things. So I do very much think like this is changing the way we're going to work moving forward, but it also can have a very negative effect on our mental health unless we are actively putting, boundaries in place, like Erica said.
Mm-hmm. Plus, like a lot of people who need face-to-face interactions, like this is really hard. Even for people who are like, there was that thing going around for a while when we first got into social isolation of like, introverts have been training for this for forever. But as somebody who is relatively introverted, like there's a difference between spending time with people and like being on Zoom calls with people, I guess. Like, you don't get the same, like social isolation is not the same thing as chosen being by yourself. And when you're on a digital platform, like it is wild to always be on call, I guess. Like Rick was saying, you need to make those boundaries for yourself, because otherwise it's like, yes, you're alone, but you're alone until you're suddenly very not alone, and then you're alone again. Like, and
I always had this sense, like this feeling of guilt that goes with it. Like, I shouldn't be relaxing. I should be working. There's this thing I have to do that I know I'm behind on, and it's just hanging over my head, and I should just go knock it out. And I think you just have to, I think a lot of that comes with just, really almost like talking back to yourself and saying like, this can wait. Like, this is not a necessity. And if you don't do things like, whether it's exercise, whether it's reading, whether it's like, whatever, I'm not saying you got to learn a new language in isolation, but you have to do stuff that's going to balance out how much you are on your digital devices. So let's talk a little bit about webinars, because I've seen, it's like the rise of webinars. It sounds like it should be like that the next Star Wars movie. But like, it's just, there's just so many of them everywhere. Because I've gone back and forth, like, should we do a webinar? Should we not do a webinar? What do you think their effectiveness is? What are maybe the pros and cons? I don't know who wants to jump in. Whoever.
Sure. I think webinars are one of those things that like are great in theory, but there are so few applications where it works really well. Like there are some situations where like if you have a panel going on, or if you have a presentation, like those are great, because then you're going to have one person talking the whole time anyway, and then you'll have room for questions at the end, and that works fine. If you're doing anything else that's like a roundtable sort of like workshop, or any other sort of event that's going to have multiple people talking, or it needs to hand off back and forth, like we're at this point now where a lot of people know how to use technology to do these sort of things, but there's still hiccups in them. So transitioning between speakers or between screens in like a professional, like this is an event setting, there's always going to be a hiccup. Like, I mean, there is even when it's just like pulling up a PowerPoint and it's not online.
Well, look what happened to you today, Rick. Yeah. You couldn't get any audio. You couldn't hear anything. We couldn't hear you. You couldn't hear us.
Nope.
I couldn't figure out for at least the first 3 weeks I was using Zoom how to share my stupid screen. Come to find out I needed to do some update that it didn't tell me I needed to do. I mean, there's just so many things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
And like
also, I think it's weird to tune in and just have one person like talking at you the whole time.
Yeah, I feel like if this thing were like everybody's sharing their screen and you're all staring at each other and one person's talking, that can be really weird. But if it's like, this is me sharing my screen of me like presenting something, or of one person like, what, Rick?
I don't know. I just like what you're saying, like when people, or at least in the ones that I've been in, if people are just kind of throwing information at you or talking at you, I feel like 85% of the time it's really not that valuable. Like I've probably Googled it before. I've probably read it somewhere. Like show me something, apply something, like walk us through, show us how it can apply to us, make it actually valuable.
Although I do feel like that's just a comment on presentations in general.
Yeah,
like,
honestly,
no,
anything.
You're not wrong. Like I've seen a lot of people who think, for whatever reasons, when you're in webinars, a lot of people, I don't know why I pronounced it that way, but you see a lot of people who approach it as if it's like this new like set of rules. Like sure, there's
like they just discovered a new concept.
We're gonna just have
Please
some
keep
barking in the
that sound
background.
effect of Kim
It's
getting
just a nice little background noise. It's funny because I want to talk about like some of the weird habits you have. Like Bree and I both do this weird thing where we smell our air. I don't know why. It's a weird tick. And I've done it like 3 times now on this like Zoom call / podcast. Like how many weird ticks do you think people are showing on these like Zoom calls where it's just like,
you probably don't even realize it.
Remember the one you guys told me about this woman who actually didn't realize she had her camera on and she actually went to the bathroom while she was on the call. I mean, first of all, that's too risky.
I heard a story from my friend. They were FaceTiming and someone's like spouse walked in totally naked and like did not realize that they were on a Zoom call and everyone was just like,
oh my gosh.
I'm not gonna lie, Josh has walked past the door before in just his boxers and I was like, this is not you need to stop.
Viral.
yeah, right now it's happening. All right, so webinars, we could take them or leave them. I think it's interesting because I heard somebody say the other day they signed up for a bunch of them and then they never end up actually logging on and doing them or going to them.
Because you get the recap afterwards. Yeah.
Well, right, and it's like it's almost like you don't have that accountability. I won't say that when it comes to like video stuff because I do feel like you know, like today I was like, I guess I should put on makeup and maybe wash my face. No. So let's talk about other types of digital media. And then I want to talk about AR a little bit, Ro. So we've got ads, we've got podcasts, we got social. How do you feel these are changing based off of everything that's happening right now?
First of all, I heard that Amazon ran out of podcast mics.
What?
Yeah, someone tweeted.
So everyone and their mother is starting a podcast. My dad is probably in the bathroom right now recording a podcast. That's
someone
great.
Tweeted and was like, in case you didn't know how bad it is, Amazon ran out of podcast mics. So I was like,
it's the next toilet paper.
It is. Oh my gosh, funny.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a moment where like everybody's realizing that they have to change how they communicate. And they need to do something that's going to stick out when people are literally, like you were saying, on our phones or on a laptop consistently. So like social media it was like what people do to connect with people before, but now it's like you have to use social media if you want to talk to somebody because you're not going to see them on the street. And you're not going to bump into them at a networking event. Like you need to form digital relationships now. I think it's really cool to see that sort of change. Like people are engaging with stuff when they normally wouldn't. We had that discussion during our social media meeting last week of like how the peak times for people like, being online are like off by 6 hours compared to what they normally are, just because people are using social media at such weird times of the day. Like, I feel like it's just changing so much in how we want to connect with each other and how we are going about connecting with each other. Like we're craving people.
Yeah, I also feel like the platforms everybody is bored. And so every single platform is just completely overwhelmed with all kinds of content. So like it's more important than it has ever been before for you to stand out. But it's like a daily obstacle of like, what can we do to be different?
Especially because these platforms are coming up with a lot of different updates too to account for people being out. So they have like little group watch sessions or they have like donate buttons that they're adding that weren't there before in some desperate attempt to try to get people to connect like they used to, and staying on top of that also and then using it effectively amidst that noise is a huge hurdle.
Well, I can't even tell you how many think about nonprofits right now. They're having to take their entire development and go like virtual, go online with it. And I think it's interesting because you've got like these industries like and this isn't all nonprofits, but a lot of organizations that are a little bit archaic in the way that they do things and the way that they communicate, and they're being forced right now to be digital. And I think what I find the most interesting is they're playing catch up. So you've got us that, I mean, obviously we're a digital marketing agency, but we've been on social media before, like right after Facebook wasn't just for college students, So I think it's interesting to see, like, we've cultivated these networks. We use these networks on a regular basis. And now I'm getting emails from every nonprofit organization I think I've ever even looked at about, Giving Tuesday, or, hey, please donate, or we're doing our fundraising lunch. We're going to do it online and stuff like that. And, or, we're going to do an online auction, or, so I think they're being forced to figure out how they can adapt, so they're even going to exist when we come out of this. And like we've said in multiple podcasts before this, the way we do business is going to be completely different, because of, not even completely different, it's just going to be, it's all technology. I mean, if you are not there and you're not utilizing it and you're not figuring out how to integrate that and be, well, I don't know, current, then you aren't going to exist anymore.
I mean, I think about how one of our teammates had to go out and help a city figure out how to make their like chamber meeting online, like so that they could all participate in it, or like council meeting. That sort of thing is such a big moment of people who were doing things so unplugged, who now suddenly have to learn how to do things digitally in order to stay afloat. Yeah. Because we can't all be together. So you have to be relevant.
It was a Facebook Live. And then you think, well, why aren't we doing council meetings like that? Like, why aren't they being recorded, or why aren't they like live? Why aren't we Zooming those or whatever? You know what I mean? I'll bring up the Small Business Association of Michigan, sbam.org, which I'm very active in. They've been doing, since all of this has been happening, they've been regularly doing it's an update every single day at, like, I think it's 1 or 3 o'clock, and they use Zoom, but then they are bringing in, like, they brought in like Governor Whitmer, they brought in like all these like big names, and then that's how they're presenting information. And it's interesting because I think it's been so effective, and it's felt like, and there's I mean, it's the same day at the same time. So you've got like that routine, and everybody knows when to tune in, and it's valuable information. And I think what we're finding more and more is people, if you're, when you're communicating, it has to be valuable. And I think it's even harder now for that, because there is so much out there, and now everybody and their mother, or say my dad, is doing a podcast. And so it's like, how are you going to stand out in all of this?
And Kim, I think it's really interesting that you bring that up, because that's technically a webinar, but you even called it an update. So like there's that stigma around the word webinar.
I hate it.
Yeah, but that update is essentially that, just done effectively. And the fact that you keep having people tune into it for information and so that they can take away, like, that is an effective use of that technology.
Agree. Let's talk about AR, because I know this is like, well, everyone likes talking about AR. I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of it and how the robots are going to be running the world soon. But let's talk a little bit about that, Ro, and what are the opportunities, I guess, in AR?
So there's been this cool shift, since people can't go out and do things, or can't go out and try things, to really focusing on AR and AR lenses. Where, like, previously, like, we've all seen those lenses where you try it on, like you have lipstick on or whatever. But a lot of retail places have been doing it so that you can try on whatever you want, or like try, like IKEA's got, you can project different parts of their furniture into your house, or anything of that sort, where they're taking these in-person experiences and turning them online to be just as valuable. But it's also doing the same thing where, like, people can't go outside as much anymore. So you get a lot of like lenses that are sponsored by, I don't know, like Corona, and then have like Corona the beer, not Corona the virus. Oh gosh. But
whatever
company.
Well, hey, Corona's everywhere.
Yeah, it's fine. But something like that, where it's like a lifestyle sort of brand that is taking a lens and making it seem like you're outside, so you can take a picture on the beach with their little logo at the bottom, and then you're reminded of the brand in a positive way that's not associated with the virus. So it's an interesting playing field, I guess, that had been emerging, but now people are really playing with it more, because when you can't have those touch points in person, you still have to make that feel like a really valuable experience.
I think it'll be incredibly interesting to see the technological advances that come out of this time, because more and more, as we just talked, this whole podcast was talking about digital innovations and talking about the fact that people are using digital, more than they ever were before. And that's going to lead to people figuring out better ways to do things, whether it's companies figuring out how to effectively use AR, like you were talking about, like retailers, or say you're buying like a couch and you want to see what it's going to look like in your living room. Wayfair's been doing that for a while, but I don't think anybody's really ever, because they were all really online. They don't have a storefront. But now you're seeing these other stores that had relied so heavily on their storefronts having to figure out how to move completely online, and there's large retailers that are just, they're not going to survive this. And they say malls will be different. And they say, I think we're all going to approach places where there's large gatherings of people in very different ways. So technology and digital is going to be so much more important than it's ever been before. And that's not to say that we're not completely reliant on our phones, because we are. Hell, I'd be terrified to see what my screen time is. Don't want to know. I've been playing. Hey, let's talk about that. We'll wrap up with this because I think this is funny. Are you playing any games on your phone, like now that you've like maybe never played before, or like just in general?
I'm just super into TikTok now.
Oh my God. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about TikTok, because you brought it up and this is now your fault. What are they, like TikTok dances? Hey, look at me. I'm 41. I don't know what this is all about at all. So please help me.
That's one of the things that's always trending, is people are like making up dances to different songs and then they post them. And if you use the audio, it basically goes viral. If you use a certain filter, it goes viral. But then people will also use audio and like overlay it and like lip sync the audio, but like make it use like a funny environment. And then I also get workouts I use TikTok quite productively. I get book recommendations, playlists. I've been getting workouts off of there. I learned how to moonwalk off TikTok.
Incredibly valuable skill.
I'm putting it on my resume, honestly.
Obviously. Okay, so as the old person in this podcast, how would you say it's different than YouTube?
Short. It's like 60 seconds is the max, and then you just swipe through like a feed. And also there's like an algorithm, so depending on what content you like or watch the most, it shows you more of that type of content.
Plus, the TikTok is the Twitter of video.
Yeah, very much.
You can do duets too on TikTok. Yeah. So like you can take somebody's video and then it split screens you, and you can record alongside them. So you'll get like reaction videos, or like people will like sing half of a song and then the other person will sing the other half of the song and go back and forth.
Sounds like you have to have talent to do this.
Yeah. It's kind of like Vine.
Time.
Yeah. That's why I'll never touch it. This is probably great for you and all your flips. Okay, so you're doing TikTok. Ro, are you doing anything on your phone?
I'm on Discord all the time just talking to people, but I'm really, in terms of games, I've been sucked up by the Animal Crossing phenomenon, which I'm sure you guys have seen somewhere.
No.
Really?
Please tell me. Yeah.
Okay. So I played the first Animal Crossing game forever ago. It's essentially a game where like it's in real time and you build a village and just like you get to run around outside and go fishing and stuff. And people have been arguing.
Sims kind of,
but you play like one character, and it's all about taking life slowly and like talking to villagers and like helping to build this place and make it beautiful. And it's gotten the most digital sales of any game ever so far. And people are arguing that it is the most important game to ever be released because of when it came out. Because Animal Crossing's been around for forever, but this one dropped right when like coronavirus hit. So everybody who can't go outside is going on Animal Crossing and like going fishing and hanging out with their friends and planting flowers and stuff like that. So I don't know. That's what I've been doing with my life. I don't want to look at my amount of hours.
I've been playing Food Truck Challenge.
Ooh, nice.
So that's a great game. I think that's what it's called. It's the dumbest thing I've ever done with my time. It's literally how fast you can make somebody's order and serve it to them. And I have probably spent $150 trying to get myself an edge. So
Kim, there's a game called Overcooked but it's multiplayer. So sometime we will all do it. And it's like all of you in a kitchen trying to assemble recipes. And
I honestly one day played it like 8 hours straight. And like, I was like, this is when I was like, I must pick up this book that talks about breaking bad habits. Because what is happening? This is like, I think this game is making me dumber. So great.
Food truck.
Someone made a point the other day that the only person to ever like care about the addictive nature of digital things was the creator of Flappy Bird. Like, of all of the apps that have ever existed, that's pretty much the only app that ever started to be addictive, and then they deleted it.
Oh my God, everything I play digital, it's like that. I had to get rid of my PlayStation and my Xbox because I would just play and days would be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I was good. Like, it's not like I played for like 8 hours and I was good. I only played like single player games. I don't want to play against anybody because I was going to get my ass kicked. Like, that wasn't any fun.
I've got to know what games you played.
First time I played Halo, I think I got stuck in a corner for like at least 30 minutes. I was like, yeah, I can't move. I can't figure out how to move this guy. What's happening? It's terrible. So yeah, and now it's replaced by my phone, and so now I'm playing things like Food Truck Challenge. Just getting smarter every day. So
personal development.
Yeah. Woo! If I don't get out of this house soon, somebody's gonna have to
So what I'm hearing is that we're going to open up an 834 food truck.
Yeah, because I'm going to be able to serve that food super quick.
New business venture.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to taste good, but it'll be fast. Okay, anyway, so we've rattled on long enough. Hopefully this filled up some of your hours during social isolation. We have a lot of stuff on our blog that talks about a lot of the digital stuff that's happening right now. We kind of dive into it a little bit on like our wellness one too, that talks about self-care and setting boundaries. So I definitely encourage you guys to check those out. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in to the Happy Hour Hustle. You guys, you've been hustled again, not officially, just like 4th or 5th time, 15th, who's to say nobody else will come on with me. So thanks for being here. Otherwise, everybody else, I guess I'll see you on the download.